Good morning and welcome to the fourth video on my Star Wars Stormtrooper Amigurumi. For those of you who are new to my channel, you might want to check out my series on the Star Wars Yoda videos that I have produced. They will give you a little bit more in-depth on slower tips and tricks that I use to get some of these amigurumis the way you want them. So there will be a link in the card above or a link in the description box below. So check those out if you're interested in starting at the beginning with the Star Wars Yoda. So for those of you who are here for our Stormtrooper video, stay tuned. We are going to do rounds 23 through 31 in this video. Let's get started. As our Stormtrooper continues to take shape, we are starting with round 23 and we are going to change to our black yarn. So go ahead and attach that paper clip to give it the weight that it needs to start your next stitch. Remember, we're going to wrap for tension, insert into the very next stitch, pick up our black yarn, and in round 23 we're going to single crochet twice in one stitch and then single crochet in the next 6 stitches all the way around. So this is again a second stitch in that first stitch with our black. Make that second stitch, and then we'll single crochet in the next 6. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we repeat that process 2 more times. So 2 single crochets in our very next stitch, and single crochet in 6. Make sure that you are crocheting off of the black yarn that is not attached to the paper clip. That's the nice part about doing the paper clip. If you get to a certain point and realize that you have been using the paper clip end to crochet, you need to stop, pull it out, and come back and make sure that you're working off of your bulk of your black yarn. So that was 6, and now we do our last 2 in one stitch and crochet back around to where we started with the black. If it's easier to work in this without that extra stuffing in there, go ahead and pull some of that out and keep working, because we can always add it back in. We're not ready to close up the base of our Stormtrooper just yet. I think when we get to the point where we're making the feet, which is just a couple of rounds from now, we'll want to add the stuffing back in before we do that. But we'll have more length and we'll be on our white yarn again. So here we are back at the beginning. We're going to change back to white yarn, so cut a nice long tail of your black and pick up the white yarn. Put it on that paper clip if you like. Remember, we'll tuck all those ends in a bit later. And for our round 24, we will simply be stitching 1 time all the way around. And I think we really don't even need to mark our row to do that, because we're coming right back around to where we started our black. So put your needle through, grab your yarn, and pull it through. And then complete that single crochet. Pull your ends tight so that you have a nice stitch there. Go ahead and rewrap for tension and single crochet in each black stitch all the way around. Continuing with the white, in round 25, we're going to do 2 single crochets in the next stitch and then single crochet in each of the next 7 stitches. So kind of a repeat, well, it is a repeat of row 24. Except this time we're doing 7 stitches at a time rather than 6. At the end of that 7, be sure and do 2 single crochets in 1 stitch and repeat the process. At the end of round 25, I will remove my paper clip and mark my row, because we're going to do the next 2 stitches, or we're going to do the next 2 rounds, and we'll want to know exactly where to stop with each round. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. And for round 26 and 27, we will simply single crochet in each stitch around. Beginning round 28, we're going to work on the feet. So you need to come to the center of your Stormtrooper, come straight down, and from that center stitch, count over 6 stitches. Make sure that you're counting to the right, because of the direction that we're crocheting. So come down to the center. From that stitch, count over 6 and mark that 6th or 7th stitch with your, mark the 6th stitch with your thread. So come to the center, count over 6, mark that 6th stitch with thread. That is where we're going to begin making our foot. And the foot is a 3 double crochet bobble in 4 different stitches. So in order to refresh yourself on a 3 double crochet bobble, be sure to go to page 14 of Lucy Collins' book so that you can refresh yourself on that 3 double crochet bobble. But I'll go through it slowly on this video. So we have our thread in that 6th stitch, and I went ahead and tied that with a granny stitch. I'll probably end up crocheting it in, but I can cut it out later. So pick your work back up, and we're single crocheting around until we get to that stitch, that thread that we just put in. Right, we're ready for our first 3 double crochet bobble. We're going to yarn over, insert it into that stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and come through 1 stitch. We should have 3 stitches on our needle, yarn over and come through 2 stitches. We have 2 stitches left, yarn over and come through 2. Repeat that process 3 more times. So yarn over, go in the next stitch, yarn over, come through 1, yarn over, come through 2, yarn over and come through 2. Again, yarn over, next stitch, pull through, come through 1, come through 2, and come through 2. Last stitch, yarn over, come through 1, come through 2, and come through 2. Now we're going to single crochet in the next 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we will start our next foot. You can see how important it was to mark from the right of our face. If we had marked to the left, our feet would not have come out in the right position. So when you make that first thread insert, you want to go to the right of your face as you're facing your Stormtrooper. So our 3 double crochet bobble in 4 stitches. Yarn over in, come through 1, come through 2, and come through the last 2, yarn over, next stitch, yarn over, come through 1, come through 2, come through 2, yarn over, next stitch, come through 1, come through 2, come through 2, last time, yarn over, go through, pull through 1, yarn over 2, and our last 2. And then we simply single crochet around to the beginning of our row in the first place. So we're just going to single crochet back around. And actually you probably have a thread that marked row 25, so you'll know when you need to stop single crocheting to finish this row, which is row 28. go ahead and pull your loop large and pull your needle out and get it out of your way for a minute, and let's look. So we have the 3 double crochet bobbles, which made those feet pull out just a little bit, and at this point we can go ahead and go back in and put some stuffing in here to give us the shape of our Stormtrooper. And I'm going to go ahead and clip that thread that marked the start of the feet. Get that out of my way. How much stuffing you use will be personal preference. Just be sure that you kind of pop these feet out so you can tell that they're going to be the front of your Stormtrooper. Starting on round 29, we're going to begin closing up the base of our Stormtrooper, and we will do that by single crocheting 2 together and then single crocheting in the next stitch and repeating that process. At this point you can tell that I have not stuffed all the way down to the feet because it would just make closing up my Stormtrooper that much more difficult. So we're going to wait on that stuffing until we have a much smaller area, and then we'll stuff just before we close up his body. And we'll push those feet out at that time too. So we're going to single crochet 2 together. So you insert into the next stitch. That gives you 2 stitches on your needle. Insert into the second stitch, which gives you 3 stitches on your needle, and pull through all 3 at one time. And then single crochet, and then repeat the process. So put in 1 stitch into the next stitch, and pull through all 3 at once. We're going to repeat this process back around to the beginning of where we just started. So there should be a thread back there marking that, and you can just repeat the process as many times as it takes to get back around to that thread. Hopefully it's about 9, but just in case you're off by a stitch or so. Right, that takes me back around to my black thread, and in round 30 we are going to do exactly the same thing, continuing to close up our circle. So we go into that next stitch, and then the next one with 3 on our hook, pull through all 3, and then single crochet in 1, and continue to close it up. Our Stormtrooper is going to be a lot longer than our Yoda. Again, you can see that I've come back around always to where my thread had marked stitch 25, but also you can tell because the tails that we have not yet woven in are still back here on the back of our Stormtrooper. So on round 31, we're going to continue to close that hole, but at this point, see how small our hole has gotten, and our Stormtrooper at this point measures about 6 inches long for mine. I'm going to go ahead, since the hole is getting small, and take some stuffing and fill that in. She does mention in her book that below the waist, we don't want to stuff our Stormtrooper quite as much as we do above the waist. So whatever looks good to you for your Stormtrooper, that's how much stuffing you should put in. Just make sure that as you're stuffing down by the feet that you push those bobble stitches out. We're going to use our yarn to distinguish between the legs as we finish off our Stormtrooper. Make sure you keep that last stitch out so that you can pick it up when you're ready to start crocheting again. I kind of tucked mine inside. Remember, this last stitch as we close up our Stormtroopers is going to be difficult, so be patient with yourself. She doesn't actually give the lengths that our amigurumis should be. So yours may measure something similar to mine, it may not. It really depends on how tightly you stitched or how loosely you stitched. So again, make your little Stormtrooper pleasing to you. Okay, I've got enough stuffing in mine. I'm going to go ahead and start that last round, round 31, and close up my little Stormtrooper. And again, we're repeating that process of putting 2 stitches together and single crocheting in the next one. After you get around to the end, we are going to cut off a piece of yarn that's about 24 inches long, according to her instructions, because we're going to use that yarn to separate the legs. So we'll finish off. I'm going to cut plenty of yarn length here. And then to finish off, we just pull that loop out that we've been working in. To end this video, let's go ahead and leave that 24-inch tail out of the way, pick up our needle, and take the threads that we have loose and weave them back in to our Stormtrooper and tie them off. In our next and final Stormtrooper video, we will complete the legs and also create and attach the arms. And that will complete your Stormtrooper Amigurumi. If you have found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell so that you won't miss out on any of my future videos. I want to thank you for letting me into your homes each week. I look forward to the time that we spend together. If you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and make those in the comment section below, and I'll answer those personally. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at Craft with Nana, and I'll see you next time on Crafting with Nana. Bye!